Benjamin David Simmons, three-time All-Star, two-time All-Defensive Team member, and a one-time All-NBA team member. If this was the year of our Lord 2021 when he was 24 years old, people all over would be cheering seeing the progress of the man who was hailed as the next Magic Johnson, as a 6'10", 240-pound point guard who is a true mismatch nightmare against teams and can torture you from anywhere inside the arc. But now, as of October of 2025, Ben Simmons is 29, has major mobility issues, has some of the worst PR in the league, and is somehow 1 foot out of the league as the #1 overall pick of the 2016 NBA draft, where he was thought to be a sure Hall of Famer at the end of his career. Well, how do we get to the point where the only offers he's attracting today is a vet minimum for the New York Knicks, where last year he was only given a small niche bench role with the Los Angeles Clippers, and we have seen this man barely play any games within the last 3 seasons? Well, it's a long story, a story full of expectations bigger than the eye can see, a story full of great triumphs and future outlook, and a story where one moment started the harshest downfall I have ever seen from a former #1 overall pick. This is the puzzling rise and fall of Ben Simmons, and we are about to go into a deep dive of how Ben Simmons went from a Hall of Fame trajectory to damn near unemployed in just under a decade. With that being said, if you want to see more videos like this, be sure to like the video and subscribe, as we are officially on the road to 100,000 subscribers. So be sure to subscribe to be a part of that, and of course, to catch more videos. But as usual, this will be a long one, but you already know who it is. Roll it!
3, 2, 1.
Weights in the weight room, so he stitched up in the left hand doing all that.
Our favorite sport has finally returned. Basketball. The long summer of nothingness is over, and it's time to get ready for the season, both on the professional side and in the college world. And that's why I teamed up with DraftKings Sportsbook for this video to tell you what you can do with the season right around the corner. Sign up using promo code Alvini, and new customers bet $5 to get $300 if your bet wins, paid in bonus bets, plus get 3 months of NBA League Pass no matter what. And with options like live game bets and same game parlays, you can join the fun in at any time. And if DraftKings isn't available in your state, don't worry. You can always join the fun with DraftKings Daily Fantasy Sports and have a shot to win cash prizes. And now with national games happening every day, now is the time to really get into the greatest sport on earth. So what are you waiting for? Sign up using promo code Alvini, and new customers bet $5 to get $300 if your bets wins, paid in bonus bets, plus get 3 months of NBA League Pass no matter what. Now, let's enjoy the start of a new season. Thank you to DraftKings for sponsoring this video, and let's get back into it. The expectations of Ben Simmons becoming the next Magic Johnson was never one that wasn't without merit. You just had to be there to understand why almost everyone who watched basketball closely could see the vision of Ben Simmons becoming a once-in-a-generational basketball prospect. At Mount Bird Academy stood a 6'8", 220-pound Ben Simmons, playing against the best America had to offer and showcasing his skill to the entire world. It was there time and time again, whether it was on Ballless Life, Home Team Hoops, Elite Mixtapes, didn't matter who, Ben Simmons was racking up millions on top of millions of views as a high school senior, making his competition look like child's play game after game. And it came from his unique mix of being able to go from point guard to wing to big at a moment's notice. His handles that no one could compete with, and considering his giant frame was going to repel people off of him, and most importantly, his NBA level passing vision that is second to none. And again, it's not like these abilities didn't go without any achievement, because at Mount Bird Academy, he would be a part of 3 straight national championship teams while being the main player in a 3rd one in his senior year, was a McDonald's All-American, was both the Naismith Player of the Year and the Gatorade Player of the Year, led his team to a 31 record in his senior year, and averaged a ridiculous 20 points, 11 rebounds, and 6 assists in this magical senior season as the #1 recruit of his class, according to both ESPN and 24/7 Sports. I was about to name who he toppled over in that route, but funny enough, there wasn't a lot of future NBA talent in that first 25 or even first 40 of his high school class. A very interesting class of players considering how this story ends, but let's not get too ahead of ourselves. But with the next step and being one step closer to the NBA, the #1 recruit of the 2015 high school class had the pick of the litter to go anywhere in the country. But most people would expect someone like Ben Simmons to go to a Duke, Kentucky, or Kansas, the 3 true blue bloods in college basketball that had become an NBA factory in the one and done space and set up people for the NBA as they showcase the players in the hardest conferences and opponents possible. But Ben Simmons would shock the entire recruiting world as he chose to play with the LSU Tigers for his one and done season in college. Now, LSU was an okay school, just basically middle of the road SEC wise, but everyone was mainly scratching their heads on why he would choose specifically LSU. Not like it would matter because he was an automatic top 3 pick no matter where he went, but it was still an untraditional way of doing things. But the reason he'd go to LSU was because his godfather and dad's former Australian teammate David Patrick was an assistant coach on staff there, and according to Ben, he felt the most comfortable at LSU due to that. But you know what? Better than them doing a Patrick Baldwin Jr., for the 3 people that know of him, who was a 5-star recruit and went to the University of Milwaukee to just stink it up, or even worse, an Amani Bates. At LSU, he will still be playing an above average schedule and will be watched from every angle possible to see if his game will translate at the NBA level. Some play styles work, some don't, but will he be able to back up all the success he worked up in high school? Well, his game is just going to have to speak for itself, and it did exactly that. Once again, as an 18-year-old freshman, his body and play would be much more primed for the competition than people think, forcing his will onto both people on offense and defense as he had a very hot start in his one and done season in college. 22 points and 4 steals and 2 blocks in his second ever game against Kennesaw State, followed up with 22 points and 16 rebounds against South Alabama, and yet again, another monster double-double with a 20-point, 20 rebound, and 7 assist game against Big East opponent Marquette. But the game that really put him on the map, despite who the opponent was his 43-point masterclass against West Florida that tied the highest scoring game for LSU since Shaq in 1991.
Intimate little man-to-man as well.
Davenport committed the foul. This is Simmons. Reverse layup after taking the baseline.
LSU likes to give you, they get in return. Quick transition.
17 for Beach. Simmons with the baby hook.
Excellent block out.
Simmons poked it away from Davenport. Simmons wanting the return pass, and he takes it and lays it in.
It is. Get it to him. Now go to work.
He puts it on the floor and flushes it.
35.
Less than a minute to go.
Nice.
Simmons flushes it over everybody.
Consecutive trips, consecutive misses. Can LSU capitalize?
Simmons, like a 6'10 guard, shoots and scores with the right hand. Waterman dribbled off his foot, but got it back.
There it is. Go to work.
Simmons, right hand, sweep off the backboard.
There it is.
Quarterman from Simmons. Tonight for North Florida, they're 9 for 10. Simmons with the jump pass out to Quarterman. He's open and he finishes.
Give it up.
Simmons
Throw it down.
got the bounce to go.
43 points, 15 of 20 from the field, 13 of 15 from the free throw line, 5 steals, 3 blocks, and a compact victory. This is legitimately the full package of what you'll be getting in Ben Simmons, someone who can lead your team to victory both on offense and defense, has a smooth touch inside the arc, can clamp down the best player on the other side, and come clutch when the team needs it. Again, it will be a lot better if he showcased this talent at a better school and he gets better competition, but it's not like he has to win games to maintain himself in the top 3 pick status of the 2016 NBA draft. But of course, it would mean a whole lot more if he did, because as we all know, someone like Anthony Davis won an entire NCAA championship with Kentucky only a few years ago. But with that in mind, Ben Simmons would continue his dominance on the court, but it didn't translate to even a March Madness invite, owning a 19-14 record, and even worse, their coach didn't even accept a postseason tournament invite to even get a piece of hardware from this season. It came and went super fast, but at the end of the day, the people were more focused on the one individual on that team named Ben Simmons. 19 points, 11 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, 56% from the field, and attracting 9 free throws a night. And due to that, he would rack up award on top of award for that amazing one-and-done season. He would be a part of the 2016 All-SEC team, an All-American and consensus All-American, and the National Freshman of the Year. Legitimately, no one could stop the Ben Simmons hype train, showcasing his potential all throughout the year, and the media just couldn't get enough of him, whether it was good or bad.
If you gave me the option of everyone that is available under the age of 23, not counting Anthony Davis, I would take Ben Simmons. I would take the kid at LSU. This kid is better than advertised. He's only in college because he has to be. He is the guy they've been talking, as much hype as there was for Wiggins, as much hype as there was for anybody else. Talk to people around basketball. He'll be the clear-cut #1 pick. People will be tanking like crazy.
If we are talking about the next LeBron James, the next it player in the NBA, yeah, he's definitely overrated because I keep watching and waiting and watching and waiting. And this young man, who seems like a fine young man, just befuddles me more and more. I don't see the motor. I don't see the intensity. I don't see the passion. I don't see the killer will. I don't see the takeover intangibles. I keep waiting for Ben Simmons to be Ben Simmons, and he just isn't.
Andrew Wiggins has 0 bust potential. Okay, Ben Simmons, 0 bust potential. There is 0 chance he'll be a bust. Greg Oden had bust potential. A lot of centers have bust potential. A lot of guys get drafted, I would say bust potential.
Okay, is Ben Simmons a once-in-a-life? Is he worth tanking for?
No. I don't think so.
What do you see that's...
I don't even know if I would take him with the #1 pick right now.
Who do you like?
Ingram.
You see more of an upside to him?
I do. I mean, I like Simmons. I really do. I think he's a basketball player. He reminds me, a lot of people talk about, they remind Magic and LeBron. I don't see that player in him right now. It's been a small sample size. I see more Lamar Odom.
And you know what? No prospect is perfect, especially from Ben Simmons, considering how polarizing and unique of a prospect he is. But the man put up numbers, he's shown the potential, and he is something we've truly never seen in over 30 years in the NBA draft. But here's my question. Some of us were blindly supporting Ben Simmons no matter what. Were there any real merit to what the speculators had to say? Even though this isn't the best all-time place to look at, let's see what NBADraft.net had to say on Ben Simmons coming into the NBA. Well, funny enough, they start off by saying that his ceiling is that of LeBron James, but his floor is Lamar Odom, like Chauncey Billups said in that earlier clip. And it makes sense, as they were similar players, just with completely different builds. But when it came to the weaknesses they spoke of, it opened up the eyes of many people, especially those who understand how things turned out. Despite being a good scorer, he lacks a reliable jump shot. His form doesn't have any glaring mechanical flaws, but it's apparent that it's the one element of his game that he isn't completely confident in. Plays almost too unselfish at times, not a prolific scorer yet, should look to become more aggressive at creating shots for himself. It makes sense where all this come from, but the thing is, I think that is far as the problems go for Ben Simmons. An elite level defender and passer has the physicality and agility to be a mismatch for everyone in the league, especially as he matures his body. And if scoring is the only knack at his game by most people, that can easily be worked on in the NBA year after year, milestone after milestone, and baby step after baby step. So with this season over and the countdown to the NBA draft coming, everyone's draft boards has Ben Simmons unanimously going #1 overall. And as the 10 and 72 76ers maintain their #1 pick slot, it is clear as day where Ben Simmons would be going.
With the first pick in the 2016 NBA draft, the Philadelphia 76ers select Ben Simmons from Melbourne, Australia, and Louisiana State University.
For those who remember, Ben Simmons said he wanted to be a Los Angeles Laker, but unfortunately now is a Philadelphia 76er and one of the signifiers of the ongoing process 76ers experience with their plan of tanking for top picks to lead them to their future salvation. And as of right now, it's yielding very interesting results. A lot of ER visits for sure. But Ben Simmons is now added to that long line of top 5 picks meant to make the 76ers relevant again as a contender, and everything going on in the offseason is going great. Ben Simmons is hyped to play with Joel Embiid, who is preparing to make his NBA debut. The 76ers are rumored to make moves as soon as possible to go on and go towards contention, and for the first time, the 76ers fan base is hyped for an upcoming season. We'd see even Ben Simmons in the Summer League showing off more of a development in his game, taking jump shots more willingly, and really trying to experiment with a skill set that he has never yet shown. But we all know never to take the Summer League very seriously, but he did show himself to be ready to have a good start to his NBA career as the leader of the Philadelphia 76ers. But almost like a curse, the process 76ers continue to stay just as that, a process. During the literal last scrimmage of training camp, Ben Simmons would roll his ankle and fracture his foot, which would mean that his rookie season would come to a screeching halt and wouldn't even have an opportunity to begin. Something that 76ers fans are way too used to, seeing it take Joel Embiid take even 2 years to play his first NBA game. It's a disappointing start to some, but for others, it could be used as a positive, as Ben Simmons can take the next 365 days to train his body and gain some weight to truly be an NBA player out the gate, rather than to deal with the usual growing pains of a 19-year-old. And with this injury, he gets to be around the system, gain chemistry with his teammates, see practices, everything. So while he won't be able to play in the 2017 NBA season, if he plays his cards right, he'll be in a way better position to start his career than anyone could have ever expected. The expectations for him are to be the next Magic Johnson. Well, the world is just going to have to wait and be a little bit patient for the next potential Magic Johnson to be truly ready for the National Basketball Association. The 2018 NBA season was going to be a big one for the Philadelphia 76ers for many reasons. Due to the Ben Simmons injury and Joel Embiid trying to get back on track for his NBA career, they got the #1 overall pick 2 years in a row and drafted Markelle Fultz. They now know Joel Embiid is a legit player after a stellar rookie season, even though it only lasted like 30 games. They added a few pieces to help make this team playoff worthy, and most importantly is the rookie season of Ben Simmons, who added on more muscle to his frame and is ready to help the 76ers become relevant again. The expectations for Ben Simmons remain the same. He is meant to be the next Magic Johnson point guard to take his team to the promised land, and is again one of the most hyped prospects since LeBron James. But now with an entire year to train his body to truly make him ready for the NBA, this rookie season was meant to be magical, and it didn't take long for him to touch down and make his mark known in the NBA world.
Simmons goes behind the back, Covington for 3, and it's through. Pulled down by Amir Johnson. Simmons, their primary ball handler, fires away and fills it up. 10 from LSU goes behind the back to Embiid. Simmons in the paint, shovels it topside to Embiid. He will drive and hammer it down. Bradley misses. Simmons behind the back. Simmons from the lane. Just over 2.5 to play in the third. Simmons sees some daylight, drives and dunks. Then Simmons lobs to Embiid in a crowd, scores anyway, and draws the foul.
Wow.
Simmons with the dish. That should be a triple-double. It is for Simmons.
In his 4th game ever of his career, Ben Simmons earned his first ever triple-double and showed the full package of what he can do. With that triple-double, he became the 3rd ever to do it in their first 4 games in NBA history, and it was all people needed to see. With that extra year to train, he wasn't truly a rookie, even though technically he was. He was already an all-star level player to some viewers. And what made the 76ers even happier was the fact that the 2-man game with he and Joel Joel Embiid was going to be legit for many years, and can obviously see them both playing at an all-star or even all-NBA level for a long time. The legend that is rookie year Ben Simmons wasn't just a short thing though that eventually flamed out. Throughout the entirety of the season, he was turning heads. But I think the real thing that set him up above a lot of rookies was just how much of a leader he was on both ends of the ball. Sure, he still had the aggressiveness issues that many people pointed out in his college time that created critics, but where he excelled was setting up other people to score and having good nights, and also being one of the best defenders in the NBA right out the gate. You truly have to take the good with the bad when it comes to Ben Simmons and just hope that he gets the itch to score, or the offense is based around him enough to make him score. In his rookie season, he dished out 8 assists a night, which placed him top 5 in the NBA that season, and altogether averaged 15, 8, and 8. If he was just a bit more aggressive, we'd be talking about his rookie season being one of the best of all time. But even if that was the case, the thing you couldn't deny was he was good for winning basketball games. At the All-Star break, the 76ers were 30 and 25, but after the All-Star break, the 76ers were a completely different team, ending the year 22 and 5, and even owned a 16-game win streak to end the season. Now, this 76ers team was not perfect, but if Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid are leading the 76ers to this level in their first season together as a duo, with the 76ers' first 50-win season since 2001, then the sky is the absolute limit for Ben Simmons' career, and this should be the worst he's ever going to be. And with this type of hype and production, the media were all over him.
Despite Joel Embiid's recent injuries, the Sixers maintain their now 11-game winning streak behind Rookie of the Year candidate Ben Simmons, who's averaging a triple-double during this run. Tuesday, he earned some pretty high praise from Sixers legend Julius Erving.
In a decade, maybe once in a lifetime.
The 76ers are off to a pretty good start this season, 7-6 record. Much of that has to do with the play of rookie Ben Simmons. Had a hot start, led to a pretty hot take from ESPN's Kevin Pelton, who writes that Simmons might be the best all-around rookie ever. Here's more. Quote, Simmons leads all rookies in points, rebounds, and assists per game. His 2 triple-doubles are already as many as any rookie has posted since Lamar Odom had 3 in 99-2000. Based on those stats, it's worth asking whether there has ever been a rookie, including LeBron James, as versatile as Simmons.
I don't want to see that for the next 15 years. He's a monster. Who said it? David Fizdale about Ben Simmons.
And Ben Simmons, who's playing like a modern day Magic Johnson. He's putting up triple doubles. And I'm really careful about passing out praise and doing comparisons, but I said it when Ben Simmons got drafted. His game really reminds me a lot of Grant Hill, who was more of a point forward in the vein of a Paul Pressey or a Scottie Pippen. He got drafted to be a point guard. And for him to be able to perform at that level and lead the team, whether Joel's in or out of the lineup, they are legitimate as we talk about teams that can make it to the conference final.
To me, I get it. I understand all the arguments about the Greek Freak and certainly Porzingis because they could put the ball in the hole. But when I'm looking at Ben Simmons, I'm seeing a guy that's averaging 17, 8, and 7. He's 6'10". He plays the point guard position. The only individual at the age of 21 with numbers like that in NBA history was Irvin Magic Johnson, ultimately a 5-time champion. I'm looking at the ability to get other people involved. I'm looking at the fact that 70% of his shots come from 10 feet and in, which means that he can get to the hole whenever he pleases. He shoots 0% from three-point range because he doesn't attempt three-pointers. Now, obviously, that's something that he could work on because it can improve his arsenal. But in the end, when you don't have to do it because you're that gifted, that skilled, that pure, not just in doing what you do, but ultimately getting other people involved and thereby galvanizing troops better than any young player that I've seen in the modern-day era.
So again, we have the best rookie season since LeBron James, the revival of the 76ers, a 50-win season for the first time since 2001. Legit, everything is going right for Ben Simmons' career so far, but now we have to see how he performs at the highest level. The NBA playoffs and his playoff debut. In the playoffs, everything changes. You now have teams game planning every game rather than having one-offs in a regular season, and with the expectations being as high as they were, especially after winning the Rookie of the Year award, and even during the playoffs, during the Miami Heat. Ben Simmons was going to do everything expected of him. At least that was what was thought to happen. Debuting with a near triple-double with a blowout win, becoming the first ever rookie to get a triple-double since Magic Johnson in a Game 3 win, and closing things out in Game 5 with another strong double-double where he averaged overall 18 points, 10 rebounds, 9 assists, and 2.5 steals per game. With the way he and Embiid are playing, this could truly be a magical season, no pun intended, for the 76ers, and a start of a potential dynasty for them if they somehow pull this off. But next, with a meeting against the Boston Celtics, a team much more equipped to deal with Ben Simmons, that's where the critics come back, and the same talking points as Ben Simmons struggled to get anything going.
When his team needed him the most, Ben Simmons disappeared.
Simmons trying to take Morris. He's there every step, and Simmons can't get the bounce. There's nothing going right for Ben Simmons.
What is the biggest thing that you learn from a game like this?
You're gonna have bad games.
Head coach Brett Brown said the Celtics defense denied Simmons space to create, and Simmons failed to adjust.
The two superstars. We'll start things off with Ben Simmons. He had a lot of flaws exposed in the series, especially on the offensive side, as evidenced by his 1-point performance in Game 2, which leads us to our first big number. He posted a plus-minus of -63, the worst mark of any player on either team. Not only that, but Philly outscored the Celtics by 48 points in the 63 minutes that Simmons was not on the floor.
From a near triple-double against the Heat to his averages going down to 14, 8, and 6 in a 1-point playoff game, yeah, that isn't going to work. Now, you can for sure just put that down to Ben Simmons overachieving in his first season and just meeting a brick wall in his first ever playoff appearance. I don't think anyone saw this team winning 53 games and being the 3rd seed, but it was for sure a welcome change to the status quo compared to the near decade of disappointment these 76ers have been in. So if you want to be positive, you can say that Ben Simmons is just trying to figure out his game, and he will improve eventually. It's not like this is a stain on his career, considering it's his first season in the league, but for the critics, this is only more fuel to the fire and even more of a reason to keep a keen eye on his progression overall. So, the season ends, and Ben Simmons is doing what great players do. He hears the noise from the critics and is going to work on his jumper. In September of 2018, during Media Day, Ben Simmons opened up about his shooting troubles and gave a little insight about his mentality toward that side of the game that he's been lacking in probably his entire life. I've never been on a team where I've had to take shots. It's always been really easy for me to get to the rim. For me to get to that next level and for me to want to be great, I have to keep getting better at the little things. It's obviously not going to be an overnight thing or a year thing where I'm at that next level, but over time with progression, I'll get better. Now, it's equally both concerning and a good thing to hear that Ben Simmons can self-reflect on the fact of how easy he had it playing basketball, that he never really needed to shoot that basketball. But it's also concerning that somehow that one aspect of his game just never got touched at all due to that fact. His father is a literal professional and a 10-year veteran Australian basketball player, and you think he understands the value of an all-around game. But that again just makes Ben Simmons that much more unique. So again, keep that in mind as we continue this video. But the season begins, Ben Simmons promises to make strides, and the 76ers are ready to be legit. And while Joel Embiid raised his numbers to near MVP levels out of the gate, Ben Simmons, strangely enough, wasn't looking any more aggressive than he was last year. And with the additions of Jimmy Butler in November and Tobias Harris at the trade deadline, Ben Simmons would more and more get used to a reserve role in the offensive hierarchy and would be more than satisfied just assisting the team and getting them on track. Again, that two-man game with Joel Embiid was lethal because of Ben Simmons. You had Tobias Harris and JJ Redick shooting the way they were due to Ben Simmons. And now with Jimmy Butler on the team, he can even be more of a menace on defense because Jimmy Butler, you know him, he will take the reins if he needs to. Though while the progress of Ben Simmons stat-wise wasn't exactly there, the NBA still took notice and would see Ben Simmons become a first-time All-Star in his second year in the league. But to some, it just wasn't enough. Where is that scoring jump? Where is the new jumper? Is Ben Simmons Magic Johnson, or is he just fine as what he is now and not improving for the betterment of his career and his team.
But I just look at it from the standpoint that Ben Simmons ultimately leads you in a situation where you're playing 4-on-5 basketball at some points if teams get back and force the Sixers to be a half-court team. What's sad about that is Ben Simmons is a jump shot away from being considered one of the top 5 players in the world. He's a jump shot away from being LeBron Part 2.
Ben Simmons, this is not an insult. This is a compliment. Ben Simmons is costing the Philadelphia 76ers a world championship. He's so good with everything else that they have available. If Ben Simmons can shoot a jump shot, it's a wrap. They can beat anybody.
Because they don't have enough shooting. Again, the number one problem, you're of course right, it's clear, Simmons not only can't shoot, he won't even try to shoot.
Jackie, we talk a lot about, he's not shooting enough, he's not trying enough, but his passing, this is why his teammates love him.
Ben Simmons, come see me in the summertime.
Ooh.
If that boy gets a jumper,
Look out.
Look out, NBA.
And let's be real with ourselves here. It's not like people don't want him to do well. Ever since high school, people have been wanting to see the best version of Ben Simmons. But if this season is anything to show for it, I don't think Ben Simmons is taking that extra step that he should be, and it might be a point of concern that the critics got right. But if the 76ers can win it all criticism goes out of the window, because Ben Simmons' play style will contribute to having a championship in his name, and only in his second season would make him a legend to do that fast. So another 50-win season, again owning the 3rd seed in the East, and again everything will be tested in the playoffs. Ben Simmons' play style, his mentality, and his execution will be televised night after night to see if the criticism will just keep building up or if he will prove the haters wrong. Obviously though, it won't be tested against the Brooklyn Nets where they won in 5 and they didn't really serve as much of a threat to really rattle the team or Simmons individually. But the next opponent will be the true test, and that's against one of the best defenses in the league, the Toronto Raptors, led by Kawhi Leonard, Kyle Lowry, and Pascal Siakam. Against a defense like that and a coach like Nick Nurse, Ben Simmons will be targeted just as bad, if not worse, than how he was done last year against Boston. And we all know, just because of who he is and how he plays, if they don't make it to the conference finals, he will be the first person everyone will look at. And to Ben Simmons' credit, despite the main weaknesses, the 76ers forced a Game 7 off of Ben Simmons scoring a series-high 21 points in Game 6. But the main problem is, the rest of the series, he has been disappointing yet again. He scored under 10 points twice, and as expected, having major issues doing anything that isn't defending, because even his playmaking is being attacked, not even getting 5 assists a game. But if they can win this series, it can be ignored for now. But we all know how things went. Kawhi Leonard would get 13 fourth-quarter points and would seal the game with one of the best game winners in NBA history, with a certain someone guarding him.
You're Philly.
It's off to Leonard, defended by Simmons. Is this the dagger?
Yep, an absolute gut punch. Despite all the 76ers attempt to make a super team since Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons have been extended, making the most of their cap space, they got knocked out by the eventual NBA champions. And whether it was his own teammate and Jimmy Butler questioning Ben Simmons' mentality as a player, or the media going after him for a series loss for the usual reasons, there has to be real questions asked about the future of Benjamin David Simmons. And do you know how crazy it is to be saying that only after 2 seasons in the NBA? Because it is, but that is just the type of player we are talking about here. He was on the fast track to being an all-time great, so the conversations around him will be the same. And right now, Ben Simmons just isn't showing enough, and it's plain as day on the court. His inability to shoot, his mentality on scoring and shooting in general, and him just straight up not knowing how to do it will do more damage than possibly anyone can imagine. With his rookie and second season done, the expectations and narratives for Ben Simmons is set and rock solid. If he won't take that next step, and possibly the only step he needs to take, then we can forget about the Magic Johnson comparisons. He will be a great player, just probably not a championship level player unless he gets lucky or Joel Embiid carries the load that he won't accept. Will it happen? Who knows? But to those that know that answer, this is where the start of his downfall begins, and it's one of the weirdest you'll ever see in sports history. Again, like I mentioned in the last section, Ben Simmons has a problem. And I don't even mean the whole he won't shoot or can't shoot thing. I mean, he has a problem of simply being too overhyped. The expectations of Ben Simmons remain through the roof because of how strong of a start he had. And yes, you gotta understand, historically, Ben Simmons' first 2 seasons in the league is near the top historically. It's not too many times you see a rookie do what he did, propping his team up to a 51 season 2 years in a row, and then the numbers he had on top of that on stat sheet. And due to that, everyone who is anyone is going to be on him to simply get better. And considering he's already a top tier finisher, a top tier playmaker, and a top tier defender, the one thing he is missing is a confident and consistent jump shot. And the noise is only going to get louder as he continues to keep his team held back due to his lack of aggression and lack of wanting to even shoot in the first place. But the 76ers are now back in the same spot where Ben Simmons cannot be passive like last season. Jimmy Butler gave up on the 76ers as they gave him an ultimatum, choosing him or Brett Brown, and the 76ers chose Brett Brown. And as a quick fun fact, Brett Brown has huge ties to Ben Simmons back in Australia, so that was obviously an easy decision for management. But wait, I actually lied, because they would lose both Brett Brown and Jimmy Butler because of the firing of Doc Rivers in LA for Tyronn Lue. So Doc Rivers gets picked up immediately in Philly, with Brett Brown now being fired. So you could have told me that Jimmy Butler could have stayed a 76er. Yeah, what could have been? Anyways, Ben Simmons would also get a contract extension of 5 years and $170 million. So you know what that means. The 76ers made an investment in the cap space for him, and they expect some type of result from it. And in this case, they won an NBA championship in their first conference finals trip since 2001. And let's not act like he and Embiid can't do that, but there is some type of hurdle they have to jump. Embiid needs to step up and not choke like he did last year in Toronto, and Ben Simmons just simply needs to get more aggressive in general, because there is no way there will be any type of demerit from the court when he does. With Jimmy Butler gone, they lose what could have been a leader in the locker room and on the court, so it puts even more pressure on Ben and Embiid this year. Once again, though, the 76ers are just trying to buy in. They want a championship as soon as possible. But as you remember, with Elton Brand being the GM, he'd go on and make some interesting decisions, opting to give Al Horford a large deal to play alongside Joel Embiid and make Tobias Harris play the small forward position. And instead of JJ Redick, the sharpshooter, being one of Ben's favorite targets, it's now Josh Richardson, the 3-and-D wing, even though he's more D than 3. Anyways, but the 76ers are investing, and will they get a return in exchange? Well, once again, we are met with the same exact issue. Some may not see it as an issue at this point, but others are still holding on to the hope that Ben Simmons just somehow figures it out. But even with Jimmy Butler gone, Tobias Harris is scoring more points than Ben Simmons, and once again, he is taking a more reserve role as he hovers around the same averages as last year. 16 points, 7 rebounds, and 8 assists a night. But you know what? To his credit, many people consider him to be the best defender in the NBA this season, becoming the steals leader per game with 2.1 and second altogether and total steals. But again, he can focus on that more because of the fact that Tobias Harris is taking the reins scoring wise for Ben, while Ben Simmons just does everything else to the best of his abilities. In my eyes at this point, he is doing the commendable thing on the court, considering he's on a team with 2 very capable scorers and is even winning games, so he doesn't have to. And with that in mind, he will control the playmaking, the defense, and was even more aggressive on the offensive boards this year. This can be the true greatness of Ben Simmons as a player, but the national media and us, let's be real, we were all stuck on the next Magic Johnson comparison, when Ben Simmons at the end of the day is just uniquely himself, and he's been showing that throughout these last 3 years. If he doesn't want to be that guy, Well, if he wins, then he doesn't have to be. So honestly, at this point, the goal is to win some hardware so he can be one of the best players in the league without even needing to be the top scorer of his team. In my eyes at this time, he's looking more like a taller Draymond Green than Magic Johnson, but guess what Draymond Green has? 3 rings and a lot of respect as one of the best role players in NBA history. But that is still a far ways for Ben Simmons, so he at least got to get some accolades first. So whether it's him climbing up the triple-double ladder with 28 to his name in his career, earning his 2nd straight All-Star appearance, and even dishing out 17 assists in a game this year, Ben Simmons is just going to keep trying to be him and trying to win something in his own way. But there would be some glimmers of optimism from the crowd who wanted to see more of his developing jump shot.
The 76ers also have a say and control the amount of energy they provide, in particular on the road.
Simmons, it's for 3. Got it!
It's Randall on the screen, excuse me.
Ntilikina, a below-average three-point shooter. There's Simmons. Yes! He did it! Ben Simmons!
Oh, you thought there'd be more? Not at all. These were the only 3-pointers he has ever made in his career up to this point, but before then, he missed 16 in a row over 2 seasons. Then he made 2 out of 7 this year. You're just going to have to get used to this because it isn't going to get any better. But as the 76ers continue to try and figure this thing out and struggling to find much momentum due to their weird offseason, they be hit with yet another horrible surprise. On February 22nd, 2020, Ben Simmons would take a bad fall against the Milwaukee Bucks to the point that he was vomiting from the pain. The 76ers would come out to confirm that Ben Simmons had a nerve injury in his back and he'd be out indefinitely, as that type of injury is something that needs a lot of attention before he can ever considering getting back on the court. So that means the season is basically over for the 76ers unless Joel Embiid steps up without Ben Simmons. But the 76ers would get some luck that would help Ben in the long run. The COVID-19 pandemic came, the NBA closed and opened back again in August, and by that point, Ben Simmons returned to the lineup just in time for the bubble, considering the extra time he had to heal. But the only problem is the health issues would only stack up.
To Thomas Bryant for the layup. Washington has a lead. Philadelphia has a problem. Watch Ben Simmons looking uncomfortable off that rebound, setting up for the entry pass and just doesn't quite feel right. Simmons would grimace and have to leave the game with a left knee injury. Walked off under his own power, but he was done for the day.
Any athlete, whether amateur or professional, knows that when you stop playing for a while, your body needs time to adjust back to your former level. And for Ben Simmons, after all that time away from basketball due to his back, the rest of his body potentially fell behind, and all it took was one wrong step to put him right back at square one. Despite the 76ers soon losing to the Celtics in the sweep in the playoffs, Ben Simmons will be given many accolades within the season. First team all defense, 4th place in defensive player of the year votes, and most impressively, being a part of the all NBA 3rd team for his first time ever as an all NBA member. Once again, we know what Ben Simmons is at this point. You just hope that he just does more, or at least at the bare minimum, win a championship and leads the way in some form or fashion. But once again, we skip to December of this year. Ben Simmons is healthy. The 76ers tweaked their team to be a little bit more offensively viable. The East is wide open for the taking, and this is the 76ers year to dominate and take it all home in the post-COVID season. But once again, as we stay on topic, Ben Simmons stays the exact same way in his play, except now we see Ben Simmons have career lows in points, assists, shot attempts, and even usage rate. Now more than ever, the 76ers can take advantage of the situation. Ben Simmons is fading even more in the background of his team. Still impactful, obviously, but now that torch is 100% Joel Embiid's. The possession starts and ends with him 9 times out of 10, and guess what? Ben Simmons is fine with it. This could be a 2-man operation where both he and Embiid are dominating, both averaging 20 points per game or more, but nope. Embiid is nearly averaging 30 points a night, and Tobias Harris is again the 2nd best scorer. Shake Milton was even flirting overtaking Ben Simmons in points per game, also off the bench. It's concerning, and you really can't get a good feel of why this is the case. A lot of people already knew, but it's just still confusing to see. Because at the end of the day, Ben Simmons allows it to happen before anything else. But you know what? Many people are praising Ben Simmons for what he's doing, as he's possibly the best defender in the NBA and leading the second best defense in the league. So as I said in the beginning of this video, you truly have to take the good with the bad when it comes to him. And the thing that will end all the debates about him is Ben Simmons holding the Larry O'Brien trophy at the end of the season. So you know how this goes. The 76ers go 42-23, the first seed in the East. He's an all-star, a first-team all-defensive member, and is even the second-place leader in the DPOY award. And with Embiid ending up as the second place winner of the MVP award and both on the All-NBA team and All-NBA defensive team also, there is no excuse for the 76ers not to end up in at least the conference finals. As the first seed, they both avoid Brooklyn and Milwaukee until the conference finals round. So if they can't get it done this year, real conversations will need to be had. But of course, as the first seed of the East, they won't have any issues in the first round against Russell Westbrook and the Washington Wizards. Absolutely not. In fact, Ben Simmons would help big time when it came to steamrolling them, averaging another near triple-double for the series and making 64% of his shots. I really suggest you don't look at that free throw percentage though. If things are looking this easy out of the gate, then this should be an absolute steamroll of at least the second round opponent. And with the way Ben Simmons is playing also, well, all you can hope for is that he continues this level of play. And in the second round, once again, we are met with the team everyone's seen the 76ers clearing out, the Atlanta Hawks. A top-tier defense led by the second-place winner of the DPOY award against a mainly heliocentric team based around a sub-6-foot point guard. This has all the makings of a gentleman's sweep if Ben Simmons locks in and makes Trae Young's life a living hell. But the problem actually ended up being reversed because Ben Simmons would end up having what would possibly be his worst playoff series in his career.
And then we get to Ben Simmons. Listen, I had this conversation with Doc Rivers at the beginning of the season. I'll say it again. I said it to him. I said it to everybody who would listen. Ben Simmons can't shoot, and as a result, that's why the Philadelphia 76ers ain't going to win the title. Because when your primary ball handler and decision maker is not a threat to shoot the ball beyond 5 feet, that is a problem. And then when you take into account the free throw shooting, Ben Simmons has missed 26 of 39 free throws. That's 12 for 39 shooting from the free throw line. He's missed more free throws than the entire Atlanta Hawks squad. It's just embarrassing. It's pathetic. It's inexcusable.
I could not stop staring at the eyes of Ben Simmons. You know why? Because in the fourth quarter, my man did not want the ball. There's no worse feeling in the history of sports than when you're.
What is that though, Jay?
Because he's a horrible free throw shooter.
But what is that though? What is it? I don't want it. Is it I don't have the confidence. I don't like. What is it?
4-14 from the free throw line. He's the first guard in NBA playoff history first guard NBA playoff history to miss 10 free throws in a playoff game.
Last night, on the biggest stage, as big a game as the Sixers have had in years, and we've all talked about their issues, and Philadelphia keeps denying their issues, and now they got a new GM and a new coach, and Doc and Daryl Morey, and it's all good, it's great. Yes, they have great moments. But on the biggest stage, Embiid was hurt, and Simmons did not take a shot in the fourth quarter.
They're done. When you see Ben Simmons play, what do you think his issue is right now? What do you think it is?
Confidence. Now I'm a little concerned because they're not guarding him at all on the perimeter, and he has the ball so much on the perimeter, and at some point either he's going to shoot the ball and live with the results, or it's going to become a major problem.
This series had all the making of being another complete wash in every way due to the difference of pure firepower on each side and the fact that Joel Embiid is by far, even if he is injured, the best player in this series. But anything that could go wrong did go wrong. Multiple blown leads, the Doc Rivers special as we all know, Embiid's health falling off a cliff, Tobias Harris getting outplayed by Seth Curry, and the biggest headline of the entire series, the outright meltdown from Ben Simmons, shooting 33% from the free throw line in the series, a mark lower than Shaquille O'Neal and Wilt Chamberlain at their worst, not attempting a single shot in 5 of the games in the fourth quarter, and being treated as a complete afterthought to the Hawks, forcing Doc Rivers to make some tough decisions. But as we remember, he would never pull Ben Simmons out for it. And even worse, it created a lot of double teams on Embiid because Ben just couldn't and wouldn't shoot. There are many culprits in this meltdown of the series, but the one person who was catching every stray imaginable was Ben Simmons, who was averaging 9 points a night, where he is supposed to be playing for his life, trying to compete for his first ever conference finals appearance in his career. His PR was already shaky, but it was free falling off a cliff right now, because if they lose this crucial Game 7, at home, by the way, Ben Simmons is most likely out of there, as all year the 76ers were flirting with a James Harden to Philly trade. Will he redeem himself? Well, the 76ers are once again struggling going into the fourth quarter. Joel Embiid is doing everything that he can. Tobias Harris is having a horrible game, and Ben Simmons only has 4 measly points. 4 points in a crucial Game 7. But as we get further into the fourth quarter, things are only getting tighter and tighter. And that's when we get the moment that would end up ruining the career of Ben Simmons.
Simmons, they cleared out for him. Tapping his way in. Spins on Gallinari. Gives it up. Oh, he was right there. And a foul as Thibault goes to the basket. Boy, Simmons, uncontested, had a layup, but he leaves it for Thibault, who makes something out of it and is headed to the line.
Well, but that's when you know that the game is in your head. That's a dunk for Ben Simmons right there. You got it, and I know you got it to Thibault, you got the free throws, but Ben Simmons, you got to shoot that shot. Be confident that if you do get fouled, that you can make the free throw with an and one.
You were thinking it. I was thinking it. Wells Fargo Arena was thinking it. Even the damn commentators on the game were thinking it. Ben Simmons, shoot the ball. The one moment of weakness that was shown everywhere, all over ESPN or TNT, I forgot which game it was, I didn't put this on the script, was the nail in the coffin. How do you have a shot that wide open, and just because someone was in the vicinity of you, you get the yips and pass it away? We've seen Ben Simmons do a little bit of everything in the paint throughout his career, but you're telling me this 6'10" man can't simply do a standing dunk to get 2 easy points? Take a little bit of contact, get the dunk or the layup, potentially even get fouled, make the free throw. Nope, he would once again add to that stat of him not taking a field goal attempt in the fourth quarter, and the Hawks would upset the Philadelphia 76ers in Game 7 to take this series win. And while that one shot that was given up by Ben Simmons wasn't the end-all be-all of the series, I know that play was replayed over and over and over again all over the internet, and many people had something to say about it the very next day.
But I don't want to hear that he ruined Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons did that before Doc Rivers ever arrived. Ben Simmons has been in the NBA for 4 years. How the hell do you not even attempt to shoot jump shots over 4 years? Who does that? Ben Simmons does that. Who goes to the gym and shows up on the gym and gets in a run, and that's his definition of working out? Ben Simmons. Who's agreed to meet with dudes to work you out and then don't show up to the gym and leave them hanging and stand them up? That's Ben Simmons.
I think it's time for him to move on. I think they should move him on to a situation where he could be used like a Sabonis, a guy that could initiate the offense, dribble a handoff, roll to the basket, has a big that loves to float around the three-point line like Miles Turner, Karl Anthony Towns, and then have him playing in the paint. It just came to the conclusion that they don't fit.
Ben, it's time for a change. Yeah. It's time for a change because he can't recover from this. The locker room won't recover from it. And so when they went to the Hacker Shack, basically, the Hacker Simmons, that just killed him. So that's him first.
And if you think that was something, it was 10 times, if not 100 times worse on Twitter, where anyone can say anything and go viral. The Ben Simmons hate train was officially at all-time speeds, and it was safe to say that Ben Simmons in Philly was coming to an end. His contract will cause problems, the locker room might potentially be against him, the organization is now going to have to appease their MVP level superstar in Joel Embiid, and Ben Simmons, due to his shrinking over and over again in the playoffs, is only going to get in the way. And that is so unfortunate. Nothing is confirmed by any means yet at the time, but at the same time, anyone who would put themselves in the position of the GM spot would be eager to get rid of Ben Simmons. So it's only a matter of time. Once again, this series breaking down isn't entirely on him. We can all come together many years later and understand that. But Ben Simmons was a huge reason of it happening in the first place due to his stagnant offense, his lack of aggression, his horrible free throw conversion, among many other factors. With Ben Simmons about to be ran out of town, it is time for a new era in Ben Simmons' career to begin, because in the brutal and rabid market of Philadelphia, I've seen y'all tear up y'all downtowns when y'all won the Super Bowl. Don't even try to tell me otherwise. He's officially been exiled in the mind of many 76ers fans. So at this point, it is up to Ben Simmons to either redeem himself or continue to get bashed in the eyes of the NBA fan base and even other franchises within the NBA to be shown if he's going to even be wanted after a few more years of this type of mentality and, of course, his play style. The summer of 2021 is going to be a rough one for Ben Simmons, with his viral play being talked about over and over and over again. Debates about his confidence and longevity are being put into question, and even worse, even his future in Philadelphia is being talked about very seriously. Ben Simmons is going to be a part of a lot of conversations from every sports angle imaginable, and unlike a few years ago where he said at Media Day he promised to improve, this time it's radio silence for him. Even to the point to where he skipped out on playing with the Australian national team for the Tokyo Olympics for what he simply called skills development. And of course, because of everything that has happened in his career right now, anything he does, positive or negative, will be talked about. But after the summer ends, we get another weird development that would put Simmons back into the spotlight for all the wrong reasons. Ben Simmons isn't showing up to training camp, and in fact, he doesn't intend to play another second with the franchise ever again. A complete holdout of his obligation as a player contractually as he tries to strong arm his way out of the Philadelphia 76ers organization. And it all started back in the offseason when the 76ers were reportedly going to trade Ben Simmons, but obviously, due to his play in the playoffs, his trade value plummeted, especially when you consider his newly signed contract, which puts him as one of the worst contracts in the NBA currently. So the 76ers were just going to have to go about the season like nothing happened and build up his trade value to try and scam, make a even trade with another team. But with Ben Simmons, he had other plans. He says he doesn't want to play another game for Philadelphia ever again, and he entirely meant it 110%. But crazy enough, it would only do more damage than if he just decided to play like everything was normal. So we go about the preseason, no sign of Ben Simmons at all, and he claims he is quote unquote reconditioning himself for the season. And he even is taking it so far that he is willing to give up part of his contract in fines to avoid even looking at the team. Super committed to his cause, despite how much damage it will only do to him. This would go on more and more as Ben would cause issues coming to practice eventually and basically doing nothing and avoiding anything to really go about trying to be a part of the team. And it was pissing off both the media, his teammates, and the organization at large. But again, Ben stayed vigilant in his ways, saying once again he will never play another second for Philly and will sacrifice anything to do so, even his own team that he is on currently. He would even try to pull the mental health card and say that he wasn't mentally ready to play, and the situation from the playoffs and the fans' reactions affected him heavily. Now, while I know some of you may understand and sympathize with him because mental health isn't something that's talked about with athletes, many people see this as another way for Ben to delay his return or lack thereof. But at the time, Ben Simmons has forfeited $2 million worth of his contract in missed game fines and other penalties tacked on by the team. And you can only imagine Ben Simmons is really serious about this. He would even give up in total $10 million, yes, $10 million in fines before he finally get his way. February 10th, 2022, the Philadelphia 76ers would trade Ben Simmons to the Brooklyn Nets for the services of James Harden. The drama is finally over. But at the end of the day, none of this is really done with. The media would hype up the new beginnings of Ben Simmons in Brooklyn, as Kyrie and KD now have one of the most versatile players in the NBA who can lead a defense and get them set up offensively. The only issue is Ben Simmons had a lot more problems than he was letting on before he got traded.
The man who has all the answers is our insider extraordinaire, Adrian Wojnarowski-Woj. The latest on Ben Simmons.
Greeny, Ramona Shelburne and I are told that the Ben Simmons injury is the L4 disc in his lower spine, and that's what's kept him out since the trade from Philadelphia on February 10th, and that's what's going to keep him out, we're told, perhaps until at least the final couple games of the regular season, April 8th, April 10th. That's when the Nets are hoping that they could have Ben Simmons back prior to what essentially will, for them, is going to be the play-in tournament to get into the Eastern Conference playoffs. Now, we were told that originally there was a target date of Friday against Portland for Ben Simmons when he started ramping up for his return, but he has not been able to consistently be able to go pain-free beyond a day or two.
Yep, Ben Simmons is injured, and it's bad. It was never revealed before the fact that Ben Simmons had an injury, but as soon as the Nets were expecting him to play, we get the news that Ben Simmons has a spinal and back injury that requires constant attention. And while he was expected to help the Nets make a playoff push, it never came to be. There would be rumblings throughout the play-in race with no results, and finally, even in Game 4 of the first round as the Nets were facing getting swept, Ben Simmons would get shut down to get surgery on a herniated disc in his back and never played a single game this entire season. Ben Simmons is now out for an entire season due to a holdout from the 76ers and injuries from the Nets. Maybe the 76ers process curse is truly a real thing after all. But that surgery for Ben Simmons was thought to get him back to normal, and he would have a huge bounce back season as he returned to form. Obviously not taking the whole scoring thing seriously like we all want him to, but at least be able to play basketball again at a high level. And that's when it happened. Ben Simmons was happy, healthy, playing for the first time in over a year in the preseason, and was a pretty decent return. But again, he's really getting back on that horse and at least trying to show his face to help out KD and Kyrie do something in a role that he is comfortable with. Not as the main guy, but as the main guy when it comes to all the other things that people don't want to do. Because you already know what I'm going to say at this point. If he can win games and win a ring, his play style gets immediately validated. And that's probably what the main goal should be at this point. But that surgery he would get would seriously end up being the beginning of the end. With career lows in almost every statistical category, where the only factors that seem to remain from his Philly days being his playmaking and defense, everyone can notice that Ben Simmons is a step slower, isn't as athletic, and his scoring drive is at an all-time low. This isn't the all-NBA and all-defensive standout Ben Simmons. This is a completely different player with Ben Simmons' salary. He would never truly be the same ever again, and there was like a week span where the Nets were given something to be excited about when Ben Simmons looked like he was back to normal, scoring 22 points against the Grizzlies in a win, and only a week later went a perfect 8 for 8 for again 20 points. But nothing at this point ever truly lasts for Ben Simmons, as only a few days later he will sustain a calf strain, and when he came back, all that aggression that he showed for like a week was gone in the wind. And once again, KD and Kyrie were traded a few months later. Things in Brooklyn were going in a new direction, and Ben Simmons became an afterthought again. In February 2023, the Nets would announce that Ben Simmons would have his knee drained and had inflammation in his back. And a month after that, Coach Jacques Vaughn would confirm that Ben Simmons would be diagnosed to have a nerve impingement in his back, adding yet even more damage to an area he's been struggling with that would put him out indefinitely. From this point, to talk about Ben Simmons is non-existent. All talking points are extinct, and all people can feel for him is sympathy and all the problems that he's been having with his body just straight up failing on him. Next year will be even worse though, only surviving 15 games, missing major time due to the same issue, a nerve impingement in his back that required yet another procedure that would take him out for another full season. And finally, we have the 2024-25 season, and from this point on, the Nets are just trying to make the most out of this with Ben Simmons. He has a very strict playing time game plan where he only surpassed 30 minutes 4 times in the season, but to his credit, he's looking better than ever, I guess, since joining the Nets and after all those injuries, but he's far, far away from what he used to be, and the Nets and him are just about fine with this point as he's making $40 million a year and are just trying to pass the time. So what now? Ben Simmons is just going to rot and just do nothing in Brooklyn. No one is going to want to trade for his contract, obviously, and he's clearly out of his prime before the age of 30, which is crazy considering how he started off his NBA journey. As a way to allow Ben Simmons to compete for something once again in his career and also to save some money, the Nets would waive Ben Simmons in a contract buyout. News that would surprise absolutely no one. But with Ben Simmons in his current form and due to the new CBA, only 2 teams are interested in giving Ben the second chance he is looking for. The Cleveland Cavaliers, the best team in the Eastern Conference, and the Los Angeles Clippers, because the Los Angeles Clippers. Both teams looking for more inside depth, and 2 teams looking to win now and try to maximize Simmons' talents. Then the team he'd go to is in a state that he always wanted to play in LA, with the Clippers in sunny California. The young socialite will join a Clippers team who's achieving more than what people are expecting them to, fighting for a top 5 seed, and has some problems in the paint due to not having a legit backup center and opting to go small ball instead. Now, as your resident Clippers YouTuber here and fan, I was more positive about the signing the most, mainly due to how he can be maximized in such a small amount of time. He isn't going to be told to give you 20 or 25 minutes of good hard play. Just make smart plays to get people open, get the occasional point or 2, and grab some boards. Push the break, do whatever you gotta do in your own Ben Simmons ways without getting in the way of the team. But as usual, when he gets back in any sort of spotlight, there is always the critics looking for something to say about it.
Stephen A., are you concerned Simmons has to be reminded to shoot?
You gotta ask. You gotta ask him. You have to ask a professional basketball player, getting paid the money he get paid, to shoot and to maximize your potential. Do you understand that when we looked at Ben Simmons with the potential, this brother is so special as a talent, but my Lord, what a disappointment. And it's all because of a willingness or lack thereof, as opposed to ability. I have nothing else to say.
But again, 3 years removed since his trade to Brooklyn, we have to understand this isn't the Ben Simmons we knew and loved from the 2016 NBA draft. This is the 28-year-old Ben Simmons with multiple lower body injuries stacked on him and a bad back due to multiple surgeries. The mental side of his game is frustrating, yes, but we should be far too used to that by now, and that's exactly why Ty Lue has him only playing in short spurts. You have him in for too long, he's a liability. Yes, in 2025, if you play Ben Simmons in his current form, he will be a liability, especially in the playoffs. His impact with the Clippers was pretty on and off, and Ty Lue used him very sparingly. He had a niche, and you only really needed to see it for about 15 to 20 minutes max. And as they go into the playoffs against the Denver Nuggets, there is no more talking about if Ben Simmons does this, then they win. He is no longer that player. Ben Simmons is now nothing more than a 10th player on a contending bench, looking to make an impact whenever his name is called. And for Tyronn Lue, just like coaches in the past, it was the same issues. Ben Simmons was used as a defender against Jokic, and that's about it. And I will say, to his credit, He did a pretty good job, at least at that. At 42 minutes of play in this 7-game series, he would only score a whopping 4 points. And as the series continued, he played less and less minutes until he finally received 2 DNPs in game 6 and 7, opting to use a 35-year-old Nick Batum over him. Because Nick Batum can give you similar levels of defense, but is also a sniper from the 3-point line, which he made 13 in the entire series. 2 times more than Ben Simmons in his entire career in one 7-game series. This is the difficulties that will come for all GMs when it comes to giving Ben Simmons another shot in the NBA. In the modern day NBA, versatility is king. And while Ben Simmons could have been the most versatile superstar since LeBron James, the 2 things he did not have was a killer instinct to score, and of course, just even a average jump shot. And now 3 years removed since his divorce with the 76ers, he is now a role player with limited upside and again, no jump shot. I want you to think real hard about the number of non-shooting players getting minutes in the NBA last season. There aren't too many of them. Ben Simmons is teetering very close on the line of being unwanted, and I hate to say this, but he did it to himself. And nothing else showed better than the free agency period of the 2025 season. With the new CBA in place, every signing has to be very intentional due to the salary tiers and not wanting to get taxed to death. And as the days, weeks, and months went by, Ben Simmons' name was never mentioned until one day we get the tweet that would end up being the final straw of his career. September 8th, 2025, Ben Simmons will reject a contract offer from the New York Knicks after being shown that he is no longer wanted. This move was seen as hilariously dense on Ben Simmons, and to the point that his own agent dropped him from his services because that was reportedly the only offer that he got in this entire summer. A veteran's minimum to the New York Knicks to fight for a final roster spot, and he said no. It is currently the 2nd of October as I'm finishing this script, and things have been silent when it came to anything Ben Simmons related, outside of a simple Instagram comment where Ben Simmons responds to someone asking if he's going to retire, to which he says no. But I think something that he needs to understand is that he doesn't get to decide that. Over this long video, we've been seeing mistake after mistake after mistake after mistake being made until he's finally shown everyone in the NBA that he just isn't made to be a primetime star in this league. The haters were proven right, and while I don't think this is the last we've seen of Ben Simmons just because of what he was in his glory days, which is crazy to say because he's only been in here for under 10 seasons, this is for sure the end of the #1 overall pick of the 2016 NBA draft. You know, it's still insane to think about how a man who was raised around basketball and as a professional basketball dad was never raised to have an all-around game or even that crazy level of confidence to be a scorer. He went to one of the best basketball high schools in the nation and won. He went to the SEC and balled out all without a jump shot, but that doesn't mean you can survive long-term with at least a serviceable one at his position. And then we all get blindsided by the lack of mental confidence that you think you would already have, to the point that is absolutely unheard of. There's being passive offensively, and then there's Ben Simmons. While I hate to sound like the people who say these sort of things on the internet, his career would have been so much different if he at least had an average jumper and an average level of confidence in the league. While it's fine to rely on someone better than you, like he did with Joel Embiid, who ended up turning into an MVP anyways, the way his style of play got exploited come playoff time was truly the biggest mark against him, and some people saw that from the very beginning. And of course, the way the injuries were stacking up was unfortunate, and you really hate to see a great player get worse from something like that. At the end of the day, the puzzling rise and fall of Ben Simmons started with his unique play style and ended with his unique play style, which he kept doubling down on again and again and again until the entirety of the NBA turned him into an afterthought that turned into a vet minimum with the New York Knicks that he outright rejected. And I hate to say it, but Ben Simmons, he did it to himself. With that being said, tell me what team or player timeline you'd like to see next, your thoughts on this video and topic, and until next time.